probability sampling means what? Here, all the individual in that particular sample will be actively involved in collecting the data. Instead of selecting each and every town, in the town itself they are going to prepare a sample, or they are going to select a sample. That is known as what? Fourth stage sampling plan. When a particular lot is accepted or rejected on the basis of single sample, it is known as single sampling. Hello everyone, I am Harshita, lecturer, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. My dear students, today we are in the fourth session of Unit 4, that is Unit 4 is all about sampling and hypothesis testing. So we have already discussed few of the concepts. Let us quickly recall what we have discussed in a previous session. So in the previous session, we have discussed about the topic, that is principles of sampling and what are the various steps which are involved in sampling process. That is, we had 7 important steps which are to be followed in the sampling process. So in today's session, we shall continue with a new topic, that is types of sampling. So this is a very important concept. So there are various types of sampling. So already in the process, there was a step where we have to decide the sampling process or the sampling method what we have to follow. So here there are few of the sampling methods. So the main sampling has been divided into 2 types, that is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Now what do you mean by probability sampling? Here in the sample, all the individuals are equally involved in collecting the data. They are termed as what? Probability sampling. So probability sampling means what? Here, all the individual in that particular sample will be actively involved in collecting the data. Whereas non-probability sampling, in the sense, it is the opposite of probability sampling, where all the individuals are not directly involved in collection of information. So they are termed as what? Non-probability sampling. So here under probability sampling, we are having many types here. That is, the first one is simple random sampling, and the next one is systematic sampling. Third one is stratified random sampling. Fourth one is cluster sampling, and the fifth one is multi-stage sampling. In the sense, stage by stage they are going to collect the information. Next one is sequential sampling. So here in a sequence they are going to collect the information. So these are the few types of probability sampling. Now coming to non-probability sampling, we are having convenience sampling. So non-probability, in the sense, here all the individual or all the sample units are not directly involved in collection of data. So here we are having convenience sampling. So here the word itself tells that depending upon the researcher's convenience is going to involve the sample units. Next one is judgmental sampling, and the next one is snowball sampling, and the next one is quota sampling, and the last one is accidental sampling. So these are the various types of sampling methods, or we can call it as methods of sampling or types of sampling. So the main thing you have to remember is it has been divided into 2 main types, that is probability sampling and non-probability sampling. So let us discuss one by one, from probability sampling all the types and non-probability sampling all the types. Okay. So now first coming to the probability sampling. So as I've already told you, what do you mean by probability? Here, each and every individual of that particular sample has an equal right to participate. So they are or equally involved in collection of data are called as probability sampling. So in this method, each unit of the population will be included in the sample. So what they'll do? All individuals in the population will be included in the sample. That means each unit of the population has a certain probability to be included in the sample. That is, all are actively involved in the collection of data. Now, coming to the types of probability sampling. So, we have seen there are several types. We shall discuss individually here. There are 4 methods. So, 4 plus 2 extra methods we have, but these 4 methods are very important methods. So I have told you there are 6 methods here, but these 4 methods are very important methods, and rest 2 of the method is also a part of probability sampling. Now, there are 4 methods of probability sampling. They are, first one is simple random sampling. So what do you mean by simple random sampling? So let us see the explanation here. In this method, every unit or component, so here every sample unit or component of the population gets equal opportunity to be included in the sample. Now what they are going to do, suppose there are 100 individuals, so all these 100 individuals are equally involved in collection of data. So they are termed as what? Simple random sampling. This is a simple method to obtain direct information from the target population. Now our target population is the 100 respondents, and this is a simple method to collect the information from the target population. This method saves the time, effort and resource of the researcher. So when compared to other type of method, this method is a very simple method where all the participants are actively involved to collect the information, and this saves time as well as efforts of the researcher. This is said to be the most able method because every component of the population gets equal opportunity to be included in the sample. So here each and every sample unit has a equal opportunity to participate, that is involved to get the information. For example, if there are 100 employees in an organization and the manager wants to build a team, that is there should be a teamwork in those 100 employees, then it's not a task of only half of the employee. All the 100 employees are put together and their involvement has to be there in order to build a strong team. Correct? So, if there are 100 employees in an organization and if the HR manager, that is human resource manager, aims at team building, so he wants to build a strong team of 100 employees, will be allowed to join and become the members of the sample. So all the 100 members have to put together or have to come together in order to build a strong team. This means that all the 100 employees will get an equal opportunity to become the members of the team. Now here all the 100 employees are actively involved in order to achieve their aim. That is known as what? Simple random sampling. Now coming to the next method, systematic sampling. Now what do you mean by systematic sampling? So here all the individuals are involved, but in order to collect the information, they will group them into a particular divisions. So there the information can be collected. Now in this method, researchers select sample members from the total population at the regular intervals. Now what they will do, now suppose this is a whole population, now all members will be involved, but the information will be collected from only few of the regular intervals. So here, for example, 5th member or the 10th member, so like that they are going to collect the information. So, for sample selection, the researchers select the starting number and the sample size is repeated by a regular interval number. So, here the difference is how much? 5 members, correct? In the same way, the next member will be 15 and the next one is 20, next is 25 and next is 30. That is all the population are involved, but only these respondents will give the information. That is 5th respondent, 10th one, 15th one, 20th one, 25th one and 30th one. So there will be a regular interval which is being framed where the respondent will give the information. These methods include predetermined interval so that it can be used to select the sample size in the shortest time. So in order to select the sample size in a shortest time, so this method is being used. For example, the researcher decides to collect 500 people from a population of 5,000 into a systematic sample. Here the researcher decides to collect how many people? That is 500 people from a population of 5,000 into a systematic sample. Then how they will do? 5,000 divided by 500. So here every 10th member will give the information. That is 10th member, and the next one is 20th member, 30th member, 40th member, and next is 50th member. Like in the sense, on a regular interval, every 10th member will give the information. He assigns 1 to 5,000 numbers to each unit of the population and select the 10th unit of the population as a sample. So every 10th member will be used in order to collect the information. That is systematic sampling. Next one is stratified random sampling. Here what the researcher will do, if the dispersion character appears to be more in the population, that is, if the population is too very big, in that situation, the population is divided into such groups. So what they are going to do? They are going to divide the population into groups that no one component appears in the two groups simultaneously. So what they are going to do? So from a large population, they are making into a groups. So care is exercised to see that the units of each group should represent the total population. So here the members which is selected from the each group will represent the whole population. So you will clearly understand with an example here. A researcher is grouping the respondent on the basis of the income. Then he can use the following base to clarify the consumer with different income. So how they are going to classify based on the income? For example, the first division will be less than 25,000, less than rupees 25,000. So if the respondents are classified according to their income, so they can do like this, that is less than 25,000, next 25,000 to 35,000. So if they want to classify according to their income, then they can do like this, that is less than rupees 25,000, next 25,000 to 35,000, next 36,000 to 45,000, next 46,000 to 55,000. Like that, that is, he has to make sure that no of the individuals will be repeated in some other group. So like that, the divisions has to be made in a regular interval. So that is known as what? Stratified random sampling. So here all the individuals of the populations will be involved, but make sure that there are certain groups which is been made where the individuals will not be repeated in some other group also. So this is known as what? Stratified random sampling. Next one is cluster sampling. The fourth important type of probability sampling is cluster sampling. In this method, the researcher divides the entire population into different clusters or small groups. So here the whole population is divided into small groups. So what they'll do? They'll divide the whole population into small groups where each cluster is carefully classified to represent the entire population. Now here each cluster, that is each group, will represent the entire population. While creating clusters, demographic features are considered as a measure. So they are going to consider the demographic features. It may be age, it may be their income or sex. So such type of demographic features has to be considered. For example, the age, sex, education, place of living, etc. are considered as a base to form the cluster. Researchers opine that it is possible to obtain good research results on the basis of cluster sampling. So through cluster sampling, here the whole population will be divided into small groups which is called as clusters, and that small cluster will represent the whole population. Next two types, that is multi-stage sampling. So let us see what is this multi-stage sampling. So it is further development of principle of cluster sampling. So it is a further development of cluster sampling. Suppose we want to investigate the working efficiency of the nationalized banks in India. So what they are going to do? They are going to take into consideration whole population, that is nationalized banks in India, but how they are going to collect the information? They are not directly going through whole population and collect the information. Okay. So, and we want to take a sample of few banks for this purpose. So what they'll do? Among all the nationalized banks, they'll take only few banks as a sample. The first stage is to select the large primary sampling unit such as states in a country. Now what they are going to do? The first stage is that they are going to consider the banks in a particular state. Okay. So they are going to consider state-wise banks. Then we may select certain district. So the second process is what? They are going to select the district and interview all banks in the chosen district. For they are going to take into consideration all the states. That is, depending upon the sample units, they are going to consider the states. Next, coming to the district. This would represent the two-stage sampling. So this district, that is sampling of district, sampling which takes place in the district is called as two-stage sampling. Designs with the ultimate sampling units being clusters of district. Now here, the banks in the district will represent the whole population. If instead of taking a census of all banks within the selected district, we can select from a town. Now this would be what? This would be the third stage. Now first they will go for state-wise, next they will go for district-wise, next they will go for town-wise. Okay, certain towns and interview all bank in the chosen town. Now here each and everything, so it may be in district or it may be in state or it may be in town, each and every sample unit will represent the whole population. Now here town in the sense what? It is a group of banks in that particular town. District, it is a group of bank in that particular district. In the same way states, a group of bank in that particular state. This would represent the three-stage sampling. So first stage was state, second stage was district, third stage was town. If instead of taking a census of all banks within the selected towns, we randomly select bank from each selected town, then it is a case using four-stage sampling. So it is a fourth stage sampling. So where that is instead of selecting each and every town, in the town itself they are going to prepare a sample or they are going to select a sample. That is known as what? Fourth stage sampling plan. If we select randomly all the stages, we will have what is known as multi-stage random sampling design. So this is known as what? Multi-stage sampling design, where stage by stage they are going to they are going to select a sample. First according to the state. Now if you are going to take into consideration all the nationalized banks in India, so the country will be the first stage, second will be the state, third will be the district, fourth will be the town. So each and every sample or each and every cluster will represent the whole population. That is known as what? Multi-stage sampling method. Next one is sequential sampling. So here the word itself says that sequential. That is, in a sequence, the sampling method is conducted. This sampling design is somewhat complex sample design. So when compared to other type of sampling method, it is bit complex. The ultimate size of the sample under this technique is not fixed in advance. Here they are not going to fix in advance what is the sample size. Okay, but is determined according to the mathematical decision rules on the basis of information yielded as survey progress. As and when the collection of information gets processed or that is in progress, here the sample size goes on expanding or sample size will be decided depending upon the progress of the information collected. This is usually adopted in case of acceptance sampling plan in context to statistical quality control. So this is a type of mathematical or statistical tool and it is a complex method where the sample size is not decided in advance. As and when the progress of the information or information collection goes on, so there the sample size keeps on varying. So whether it can expand or it can contract. Next, to see about sequential sampling, when a particular lot is accepted or rejected on the basis of single sample, it is known as single sampling. So there are other terms like single sampling. So what do you mean by single sampling? When a particular lot is to be accepted or it has to be rejected on the basis of single sample. So here single sample is being taken into consideration for the study, that is known as single sampling. When the decision is to be taken on the basis of two samples, it is known as double sampling. So if the decision is taken on the basis of two samples, it is known as double sampling, and in case the decision rests on basis of more than two samples, but the number of sample is certain and decided in advance. So this is related to your sequential sampling itself. So as I told you, the sample size is not decided in advance. As and when the progress of information takes place, they will decide the sample. So if the information or if a particular lot is been rejected or accepted by taking into consideration one sample, that is known as single sampling, or when the decision is taken into consideration by taking two samples, they are called as double sampling. And in case the decision rests on the basis of more than two samples, but the number of sample is certain and decided in advance, the sampling is known as multiple sampling. So if it is more than two, then it is known as multiple sampling. But when the number of sample is more than two, but it is neither certain nor decided in advance. So it is, as I told you, it is not decided in advance. This type of system is often referred as sequential sampling. So sequential sampling in the sense what? So this type of sampling is not decided in advance. So these are the types of probability sampling. Now coming to non-probability sampling. So let us see what are the non-probability sampling here. In non-probability sampling, the researcher chooses a sample for research at random. So what they are going to do? Here, each and every unit of the sample will not have equal opportunity in collection of data. So here, the sample is going to decide in random from the whole population. They are termed as what? Non-probability sampling. This method is not fixed or predefined selection process. So it is not fixed in advance like probability sampling. So it is not fixed in advance or not predefined in advance. This makes it difficult for all the elements of the population to have equal opportunities. So here all the elements in a particular sample does not have equal opportunities to participate. That is to be included in the sample. In many situations, this method may fail to provide reasonable results. That means it may be or it may provide skewed results. So there may be a chances that here in this non-probability method, since the sample is being selected randomly, so there may be a chances of that we cannot get the accurate results here. This method is undertaken when the researcher is suffering from resources to carry out the research work. So this type is mainly possible because it is not predetermined or predefined in advance. Then it means that the researcher is facing few problems. In that situation only, he goes for non-probability sampling. So let us see what are the various types of non-probability sampling here. So the various types of non-probability sampling are explained below. So the first one is convenience sampling. So here the word itself says that depending upon the convenience of the researcher, he is going to select the sample. So in this method, the researcher selects a convenient way to collect the opinions from the sample. So what he'll do? Depending upon his convenience, he is going to select the sample or collect the information from the sample. There is no strict rule that selected sample should represent the population. So like probability sampling, here each and every sample used to represent the population. But there is no rule in non-probability sampling. So here each and every unit of the population or each and every sample will not represent the whole population. For example, in order to obtain the feedback or opinion, the researcher can collect the information from customer who visit in mass or just meeting the passerby. So here what happens under probability sampling, they used to collect information from all the individuals. But here what happens, according to the convenience of the researcher, so he may collect the information from the people who visit in mass, in the sense who visit together in mass, or he can ask the information from the passerby also. In this method, researcher have no options to select the sample elements. So here the researcher does not have any options to select the sample element. That is convenience sampling. So it all depends upon the convenience of the researcher. Next one is judgmental or purposive sampling. So this type of sampling is formed at the discretion of the researcher. So here it depends upon the discretion of the researcher. Researcher fully consider the objective of the study by understanding the target population. Now it depends upon the purpose of research work. He is going to select the sample, or discretional in nature, where the researcher is going to select the target population based on the purpose of research. For example, let us assume that the target population will be male students in a degree college. The researcher is willing to collect the opinions of the target group, that is the male students of the degree college, by demonstrating a new model bike likely to be released in the market. The researcher will meet the students in the college campus and collect the opinions from the student in the form of yes or no. So here is going to just collect the information from the male students of the college by introducing a new vehicle or showing a demo of a new vehicle, whether it has to be launched or not. That is yes or no question. Then he will make a decision to exclude students who have responded with no answers. So what he'll do? So depending upon his purpose, depending upon his judgmental opinion, so he will take out all the students who have answered no. Then again, the students who have answered yes, he is going to ask them questions relating to that particular problem. That is known as what? Judgmental or purposive sampling. Next one is snowball sampling. Now, snowball sampling is also known as chain referral sampling. So, snowball sampling is also known as what? Chain referral sampling. It is a non-probability sampling method. It is used when the characteristic possessed by the samples are rare and difficult to find. So, this snowball sampling will be used when the characteristics of the sample is very rare and difficult to find. So, in other words, snowball sampling method is based on the referral from initial subjects to generate additional subject. So, it is just like a referral of the initial subject in order to study the current subject. So, already the researcher might have used those sample for some other study. Now, he is using that same sample for the current study also. Therefore, while applying this sampling, members of the same group are recruited through chain referral. So, what they are going to do? They are going to recruit the members through chain referral. Snowball sampling is used when the research study is more sensitive and it is not suitable for public debate and discussions. In the sense, already is going to refer the sample which has been already used. So, they are termed as what? Snowball sampling. For example, when a pharmaceutical company decides to conduct a survey to know about the HIV patients. So, here they can't directly contact the HIV patient and ask about it. So, what they'll do? They'll contact their friends or they'll contact their doctors who is in relationship with them or who is been attached to them. From them, the researcher can collect the information. So, for example, when a pharmaceutical company decides to conduct a survey to know the number of HIV, that is AIDS cases, the HIV patient may not show interest. So, HIV patients will not show interest to provide their feedback. Then, the researcher may gather information from those people or doctors who know HIV patients well. So, here those who are related to those patients, from them the industry is going to collect the information. That is known as what? Snowball sampling. Next one is quota sampling. In this method, the selection of the sample will take place according to the predetermined standard. Here they are going to follow some predetermined standard, so it is called as quota sampling. Here the sample is being formed on the basis of definite feature of the sample units. So it all depends upon the certain features of the sample units, that is individual sample units. The sample determined is according to the feature found from the population. So what is the main feature being found from the population? On the basis of that, this quota sampling is done. So this is considered as a speeder method to collect the opinion from the sample. So it is one of the speeder method to collect the information from the respondents, that is through quota sampling, and it is one of the standardized or predetermined standards. So here in the sampling there will be some predetermined standards. So this is about quota sampling, and it is also one of the non-probability sampling. Next one is accidental sampling. In this method, the researcher simply contacts and pick up those cases which he come across and thus continuing the process till the total sample reaches the designated size. So what he'll do here, what the researcher will do, he is not going to particularly select the sample as and when he passes by. So he will select the sample till he reaches the designated size. So till he reaches a particular size, that is suppose his size is 100, then till then whoever he gets, he will take them as a sample until he reaches a designated size. That is known as what? Accidental sample. So researcher simply contacts with them and they will be considered as a sample until it reaches a predetermined size. So these are all types of non-probability sampling. So in my next session, I am going to discuss the next topic on sampling and hypothesis, that is sampling errors. So it is also one of the important concepts we shall discuss in the next class. So my dear students, in today's session, we have discussed about what are the types of sampling. So it may be probability as well as non-probability sampling. See you all in my next session with a new topic. Till then, take care. Thank you.